Inside knew. We know that there were officers inside. That's what law enforcement, Texas Department of Public Safety have told us, that there were officers outside of the classroom in a different area, clearly from where she was.
I tried to tell you. This video is brought to you by The Officer Tatum Store. The Officer Tatum Store. Get the merch link in the description section. Like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so get notifications. Anytime I go live and make a video, make sure you still subscribe to my channel. Like this video, comment on this video, share this video. Let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, and ladies, I want to let this Uvalde thing go, but it's very difficult for me to let this thing go because people are just putting out misinformation after misinformation. Now, everybody want to move on because they put information out and now things are changing. They want to go back into the cocoon and they want everybody to forget about it. No, you put out information, then I have to critique the information. The lady that they claim came to the scene, jumped the fence, went into these classrooms where the shooter was at. They tried to make it seem like she went into the class where the shooting, to the building where the shooting was going on. And all these officers just standing around, she went and rescued her kids who were in danger from the shooter and ran out of the school. Now, in any other situation, people would really been mad at her if she did rescue kids because that means she rescued her kids and left all the other kids to die. And that would leave you to believe that doors were open and cops were just standing there. They could have opened the door. They could have not opened the door, and they just decided that they didn't want to help anybody. Now, we know with the information we have now that that's not the case. It's funny how the news don't give any timeline when she showed up. They don't say how long it took her to get there, and they don't give a timeline. Every time they talk to people, every time they interview some of these high-profile people, they have a timeline set up so you know exactly when they arrived at the scene. So then you can put things together. There is no indication of when she actually got to the scene. And I'm going to play her clip so you guys can see it, but there's no indication when she got to the scene. Rumors said that she drove from 40 minutes away. Now, it doesn't sound like that's the case at all. But rumor says she drove 40 minutes away. Now, 40 minutes away, getting a notification text from her mother, I mean, she would end up getting there right when it was over. And we already know that people were evacuated from these classrooms and police were evacuating because the last gentleman that was there, the guy with the shotgun, that was the Border Patrol guy, he got there at 11:40. He said he didn't hear any shots while he was there, and kids were already being evacuated. Police were knocking out windows, and they were extracting people from the school. So I don't know when she showed up at the school. But let's go through it, and I'm going to methodically break this down, and we're going to talk about it together. Roll the film. So she just said that she showed up and the U.S. Marshals stopped her vehicle. Now, this should give you an indication on when she actually got to the scene because the U.S. Marshals had made it there and set up a perimeter or set up some kind of barrier or perimeter. That means that she wasn't there at the beginning for sure when the shooting was allegedly happening. She's there at a later date when U.S. Marshals are able to set up a perimeter.
I said, well, you're going to have to arrest me because I'm going in there, and I'm telling you right now, I don't see none of y'all in there. Y'all are standing with snipers, and y'all are far away. If y'all don't go in there, I'm going in there. He immediately put me in cuffs.
She says.
Now, let me say this before I get too deep in this video. I'm not blaming this woman for anything that she says she's doing or did or wanted to do. Any parent would have felt the way that she felt. Any parent. Now, I don't know if they would have acted the way she acted, but they would have felt the way that she would have felt. I would have felt the same way she would have felt. So I'm not here to criticize nothing that she did or didn't do. I'm here to break down the timeline so we can put things in perspective. She said she was arrested. Now, U.S. Marshals came out and made an official statement and said they never arrested a single person. They didn't put anybody in handcuffs. Now, somebody lying, they both can't be right.
After Uvalde police officers told marshals to uncuff Gomez, she ran towards the school.
As soon as they uncuffed me, I jumped that first gate fence. And once I jumped it, I went to my son's class and I knocked on the door. And I remember the teacher saying, I'm like, hey, they're already boach cutting the fence to get me. She's like, you think we have time to get out? I said, y'all have time. I'm going to run for my other son.
So she went into the school, knocked on the door, and had a conversation with a teacher. So that should lead you to believe that they're nowhere near the shooting. They're nowhere near where the action is happening at. And I'm going to show you a layout of the school so you can have a better visual of probably where she's at, and she's nowhere near the shooting or anything, and none of those people in that particular area are in danger.
Once she was assured her son was okay, Gomez ran to get her other child.
So she said once she was sure her son was okay, she left her son and she went to get her other child.
Encountering more officers who tried to stop her.
More officers who tried to stop her. Keep that in mind.
So I start yelling and I'm being a cooperative and I'm like, well, y'all aren't doing what are y'all doing? Y'all ain't doing y'all need to be in here. Give me your vest. Somebody give me a vest. Something. I started paying attention to how far the shots were being so that I knew the shooter was all the way still by my first son's class. So when I went to my second son's door, the teacher didn't want to open the door for me. So that's when they started escorting me out. And as I see that they're opening my son's door, I go run for my son and I get him.
With both of her kids out safe, Gomez still can't shake the thought of those who didn't make it.
While you were inside the school, did you see officers?
See, they keep saying while you're inside the school, right? They're giving this perception that she's in the school where the shooter is at. She's in the building that the shooter is in. They want you to believe that the officers are doing nothing while people are getting slaughtered and he's walking around killing as many people as he can, and this woman is brave enough to go in that building. That's not what she's describing here. Even if hopefully she's telling the truth, that's not what she's describing. They're in such a dire strait that she goes and knocks on the door. Her and the teacher have a conversation. She leaves her son with the teacher, goes to get her other kid, and somehow the teacher don't want to let her in the classroom, and they're having a conversation and a dialogue, and the police is trying to escort her away from the classroom. This is not anywhere near where the shooting is occurring.
One officer inside the school when I ran to my second son's class. There was not one officer.
And you were hearing gunshots, so you knew
you could hear the gunshots.
Was an active shooter.
It was still active. The gunshots were still active. They were not in there. There was no one in there. If anything, when I pulled up, my car was closer to the school than where the snipers and everybody that was laying on the ground were.
So she said nobody was in there. But yet, when she was going to the classroom to get her other kid, cops were trying to stop her. So are they in there? Or are they not in there? Are they stopping you and you're engaging with police officers, or they're nowhere to be found? Was your kid in so much danger that you left him with the first teacher to go to the other class? Like, I'm telling you guys, it's not making sense the way they're pushing it. They keep saying she was in the building. This would be very simple if they said she went to another building unrelated or not connected to or had nothing to do with where the shooting is at. Now, after she give her statement, they're going to say that she was nowhere near the building that the shooting was happening at.
When you heard that it took law enforcement 75 minutes before they went in and stopped the shooter, what was your thinking, having been inside the school yourself?
They didn't stop the shooting, having been inside the school herself. The deception from the media. Watch what the lady says after the interview and describes that she was nowhere near the shooting.
No, I was just thinking that they could have saved many more lives. They could have gone into that classroom and maybe 2 or 3 would have been gone, but they could have saved the whole class. They could have done something. Gone through the window, sniped them through the window. I mean, something, but nothing was being done. If anything, they were being more aggressive on us parents that were willing to go in there. And like I told one of the officers, I don't need you to protect me. Get away from me. I don't need your protection. If anything, I need you to go in there with me to go protect my kids.
And as people that know about any of these scenes, she's probably fighting with people on the perimeter. U.S. Marshals are on the perimeter. Cops, she said, I don't need you to protect me. They're out there on the perimeter. These are not the officers that are in the action zone. They're not.
If anything, they were being more aggressive on us. They were more pertaining on keeping us back than getting into that school.
The they that she's talking about are people on the perimeter. She's basing her knowledge on the perimeter team not going in the school. They had people on the perimeter, and they had people who are actively in the building. With the timeline that we have now, we know they were at the building. We know that they 19 officers in that building that the shooting occurred in. We know from the timeline that was given to us by the guy with the shotgun that he showed up at 11:44, which is right after the shooting happened, which I think is before she got there, that they were already getting kids across the street to the funeral home. And as you can see, when she was running with her kids, there's a ton of vehicles and there's parents and stuff everywhere.
Now, her account is another reflection of just the gaps in communication, those holes that we're trying to fill about the information that was coming in from 911, what the officers outside knew, what the officers inside knew. We know that there were officers inside. That's what law enforcement, Texas Department of Public Safety have told us, that there were officers outside of the classroom in a different area, clearly from where she was.
In a different area, clearly, than where she was.
But, it's the frustration of the parents trying to get in is something that's understandable. And, of course, law enforcement can't just let all the parents go in when there's a shooter inside, clearly. But her energy, her frustration is what's reverberating across this community at this point. And she also told me that, she's on probation for some charges from about a decade ago, and that she received a call from someone in law enforcement telling her that if she keeps talking to media, or if she, keeps sharing her story, that she might face some kind of violation for obstruction of justice.
Now, with all of this being said, which I think that's probably not true, could be, all of this information is given to us by that lady. She could be making it up. She could be telling the truth. We don't know. But there is no validation or verification that the media used to verify anything she's saying. They didn't talk to an officer that corroborated what she said. They didn't talk to a teacher that corroborated what she said. They have no corroborating evidence. And so all I'm saying in this video is that it's not what they said it was. They painted the picture that she went into the school where the shooter was at, as if this is one school building. And she went into that school and all the kids are in there and her kids are in danger. This building is isolated from other parts of the school where they had the shooter in one room. Pretty much 1 to 2 rooms because it's connected by the bathroom. It's 2 doors. They had him isolated. None of the kids on the entire campus was in danger because he was isolated in there. Every other kid on the campus was not in danger. They weren't in danger. Now, so I can imagine that parents want to go get their kids, which is fine. And many of those kids got evacuated and they went and they made contact with their parents. But I would argue that they were still on lockdown. And they had these kids safely in the classrooms that was not in the same location as where the shooting occurred at. Those kids were rescued out of windows and jumping out of windows and fleeing to the funeral home. Now, I'm going to try to find a picture of the school so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's look at this diagram, right? The gunman crashed right here in this ditch because he didn't know how to drive. Here's the parking lot. Here's the funeral home. When he got out, he crashed here. Some people from the funeral home walked over and he shot at them. He made his way over into the parking lot. I don't know where he was hiding at, but he hid. I think he jumped here and hid somewhere over here. Resource officer comes to the funeral home over here, and technically he passed the shooter because the shooter is over here somewhere. Now, according to the information, is that he started shooting into the classrooms from here. He goes into this door, right? And then he goes right up this hallway, and this is where he was contained at. Now, once they have him pinned in this room, this is the only place that he's able to go. Robb Elementary is these buildings, this building, all of this building, this building, this building, this cafeteria, this building, and this building. So it's not shocking that the lady may have jumped a fence somewhere and got her kids from over here somewhere, which is nowhere near right here. The police officer that responded to the scene said they were breaking kids out of the class and they were running to the funeral home. So we know that she didn't end up in this area. They had the place where the staging area was. I don't know if it's on here. It looked like the parents' staging area was up here. And so the parents were blocked off here. They were in the grass here and here. The parents were not over here. I don't believe. She may have been here. And they had her in handcuffs because she parked somewhere over here, if that's true. She jumped the fence, and she probably went in here somewhere to get her kids out. Now, if you were shutting down a school, the incident is isolated here, you shut these classes down until you can methodically go through and rescue these kids. You have him contained here. If you start letting everybody out of here and people are running, you're not going to have a count of everybody. People are running here, they're running here, they're running here. Some people may run into the scene right here. They may be thinking about running, they run back into where the shooter's at. So you have everybody stay in their classrooms. They're safe in the classrooms. There's no need to have all these people out going crazy. The teachers, like she had mentioned, the teacher actually had communication with her. That makes sense that she was over here somewhere. But to think that that lady jumped the fence and came in here to get her kids out of here because officers just sitting around doing nothing, that's not what happened. I can almost guarantee that's not what happened because that's not what she explained. The school is pretty big. It's not a small school. Shooter was here. Entry point was here. He went here. Understand that. This is the roadway. The SRO probably drove down the road here and missed the shooter that was behind the cars here in the parking lot. All right, I think that's enough. I love you guys. See you on the next one. I'm out.